dwindling interactions between men and women are emblematic of this shift. Why? Every interaction with a woman nowadays feels like navigating a minefield that could potentially lead to dire consequences, like landing behind bars. It's a treacherous terrain where words like rapist and creep have lost their once potent meaning, freely flowing from the lips of modern women. Simply asking if a woman is finished with the treadmill at the gym might suddenly earn you the dreaded creep label. Offering a courteous handshake to a female colleague in the workplace, that, too, can brand you a creep in another woman's eyes. Such is the reality of the modern world, and it's driving men to the brink. The frustration with this unrelenting nonsense is palpable. If your car breaks down, you're on your own. You don't need a man to help you fix it. The gym presents a similar conundrum. Need a spotter or assistance with a tricky workout? Forget it. Men fear being labeled as creeps, so they'd rather not extend a hand in help. Call upon your fellow females for gym assistance. MgTOW men are carving out their own path, one that's focused on self-improvement and fulfilling their life's purpose. They're striving to provide for themselves and their families, all without the entanglements of romantic relationships in the equation. It's a calculated choice made out of sheer necessity and a desire for self-preservation in a world that often feels fraught with peril. I had a rather intense conversation with a friend about the MgTOW movement. As we delved into this ideology, my friend remarked that the MgTOW concept, in theory, could be a good one if it weren't so heavily infused with fear and animosity. Well, to call it merely fear and hatred would be a considerable understatement, my friend. Let's examine the origins of the MgTOW movement. These are men who have felt the searing sting of past experiences with women. This pain, my friends, can often be traced back to divorce battles, false accusations, and a myriad of other encounters. Can we really blame them for being apprehensive when it comes to relationships with women? After all, the saying goes that lightning doesn't strike the same place twice. Who knows what other unforeseen complications these women might bring into their lives? Frankly, they've grown weary of rolling the dice on modern women. It's no secret that the feminist movement has made significant strides, securing rights like voting, access to education, and advocating for equal pay. These are victories that cannot be dismissed lightly. However, somewhere along the way, feminism seems to have veered off course, leaving even the most oblivious among us with the unmistakable impression that the quest is no longer for equality, but for power. My friend then made a rather intriguing point, stating, "You can't extinguish fire with fire." The reasoning behind his argument is, quite simply, that the only way to triumph in a game that seems unwinnable is to step away from the game board entirely. It sounds rather elementary when you put it that way, doesn't it? Feminism did fight for essential rights, and it achieved those goals, but it now seems as though it has lost sight of its initial purpose. Chivalry, once held in high regard, has sadly breathed its last breath, and traditional women, as we knew them, appear to be a vanishing breed. In such a landscape, it's easy to succumb to hopelessness, believing that there's no salvation for society. But my friend asserts that there's no need to fret about the consequences for society or government. He's of the opinion that the government can deal with its own problems, as it rarely has the best interests of men at heart in the first place. Take, for instance, the archaic divorce laws that were conceived during the 19th century when women were not active participants in the workforce and had limited means of self-sufficiency. These laws were established in a context where women depended on their husbands for financial support. In those times, it made sense for husbands to provide for their divorced spouses. However, the world has evolved drastically since then. Women have asserted their presence and dominance in the workforce, proving beyond a doubt that they are more than capable of self-sufficiency. So, the argument goes, why should these outdated divorce laws still apply? It's a valid question and one that remains unanswered. In this contemporary era, women are perfectly capable of taking care of themselves, rendering these old laws rather redundant. Many men have become increasingly disillusioned with the institution of marriage due to its unpredictability. It's a harsh reality that even after years of seemingly happy marriage, a spouse can decide to end the relationship on a whim. This often leaves the other partner, typically the man, in a vulnerable position. both emotionally and financially. Of course, it's essential to note that men do win divorce cases occasionally, but it's a rarity, especially when the wife has more financial resources than the husband. As we all know, women tend to marry up, primarily due to the innate phenomenon known as hypergamy. Hypergamy, the tendency to marry up socioeconomically, is a natural human inclination. As women have gained more economic independence, they have increasingly pursued partners with equal or greater financial standing. Some men feel this has created unrealistic expectations in relationships, particularly when it comes to financial provision. Women seeking partners often look for someone with equal or greater financial standing. Consequently, instances where men emerge victorious in divorce court are statistically minimal, hovering around a mere 1%. Things seemed relatively stable in 2019, with Western women often identified as the primary source of the problem. However, recent developments show that even in third world countries, women are adopting the behavioral patterns of their Western counterparts. It's a global shift, and it appears irreversible. For those who base their hopes on relationships with the few remaining good women, it's essential to consider this perspective. If a society comprises 80% bad actors and only 20% good individuals, it suggests that the overall quality of that society leans toward the negative. This means that even though there might be a minority of genuinely good women, the odds of encountering one amid the majority of the population can be daunting. The risk of being disillusioned or harmed by the majority looms large, making many men question the wisdom of gambling their future and wealth. Critics argue that movements like MgTOW are oppressive to women. However, MgTOW proponents contend that their movement is merely a declaration of independence. They have chosen to lead their lives on their terms, independent of societal expectations. If being labeled as cowards for opting to live fulfilling lives independently is the price they must pay, so be it. It's crucial to clarify that the MgTOW movement doesn't imply that men have sworn off intimate relationships entirely, including sex. Rather, it's a shift in perspective. MgTOW men continue to engage in romantic or physical encounters, but they now approach these interactions with a different mindset. They treat such relationships as transient, devoid of commitment, alimony fees, or child support obligations. This shift allows them to prioritize their own well-being and financial stability. And that's it for today on Sigma Traits. Make sure you hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you can be the first to know when my new video drops. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. See you all tomorrow.